Welcome to Earth Centric Lighting for everything lighting related and how to use lighting in your projects and life. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Today I'm pretty excited because I'm doing an episode here that's not necessarily about electric light or natural light. It's more something I always kind of have fun thinking about. It's more philosophical light, kind of like the aspect of someone's inner light, whatever that means to you guys. But I think there's a lot of power behind that imagery. And because I know, especially today it's November 3rd, 2025. Everyone went through COVID, and here in the States, there's a lot of this. Um, you can feel it, man, the tension between people, and there's a lot of political things with left versus right, and then maybe being in the middle. And a lot of people, I feel like, from what I can tell, are either set, they're like, this is the way it needs to be, or other people are like, I don't even know what's going on. I don't even know what to do. I don't even know who the enemy is. We're all people, right? So, uh, and then on top of that, AI is coming out. So a lot of people have a lot of stress and fear about that. And um, like, how do you move forward? What's the next steps? So I think it's pretty important to acknowledge that it's okay to look within because sometimes you need to be able to do that. And sometimes it's not so easy to do. So I don't have anything scripted today. Normally I don't have a full script written out, but usually I have some type of flow planned for the interview or what I want to talk about design. But I kind of wanted to freestyle here and just kind of speak openly from my experiences and essentially from my heart, the things I'm struggling with, and but how we can break through those limitations because it's not, sometimes you can feel really, really stuck and overwhelmed just by sitting there trying to think about everything and do everything perfect. And I've been there too. And part of my job description is literally attention to detail and multitasking and doing multiple things at once and fast and quickly. And right, and one mistake means it's like a $10,000 mistake. So, uh, and that's not even as how much the design fee was on that job. So there's a lot to it. So having that mindset is very helpful, but there's a point sometimes where it's not, it can be debilitating almost. So like I know there's a lot of people out there talking about ADHD and how to fix it, but I don't know. I think sometimes everybody's brain works differently. Maybe it's something that doesn't need to be fixed. Maybe it's your own uh it's like a superpower if you can leverage it in the right way and be able to dial it back when you need to and not worry so much. Um, I'll just tell you from my experience when I first started this business, I became overwhelmed with stress and like there was this fear, just this huge weight. I could feel it on my back. And I had a couple kids and um, trying to figure out how to be a father. And then COVID happened at the same time, and everybody was freaked out. I was just feeling all that. And then I actually went to therapy to try to get better, and it actually made it a lot worse. I think I realized there that a lot of therapists have their own issues. And I was sitting there looking up to this professional, mental health professional, to help guide me to make me better. And I think I got a horrible lesson in psychology the very first time. I think he told me I was there because I was feeling very, very anxietied out and a lot of things I'd never looked at in my past before. And he tells me, he says he wants to get rid of toxic masculinity. He tells me like he's yelling at me, like how disgusting men are and if they don't behave the right way. And then of course I felt all that fear of like, oh no, I've I've done things I'm ashamed of. I've done things that are incorrect or the wrong way. And he's like, hunting and fishing doesn't make you a man. And then I'm just like, oh, fuck, I hunt and fish. What's wrong with me? Uh, don't listen to that voice, man. And honestly, I've been to three different therapists since that one. They all have different views, they all have different beliefs, and they're all set that their way is the only way. And the best case scenario is I heard one therapist say, my wife told me, this was the same one. It's like, my wife told me uh, to not live. I sometimes just live in this black and white that I forget there's this gray area. Yeah, there is, but also me being a line designer, there's this whole other world of color too, an infinite amount of color and possibilities. And same thing with like I'm a fan, I like Taoism. I like that belief of yin and yang, but I definitely think you can overdo it with the balance and trying to balance everything instead of just going for it, trusting your instincts and trusting that you can break through your limitations and that you have a good idea. You can follow that, and then that might change as you develop and grow. Now you have to excuse me, I'm a little sick, so I'm a little stuffy. But that's a good point right there too, because I used to be a guy who would get sick twice a month, and I would just be like bedridden for like a week, just trying to. I was all could barely get out of it, but then um, I started just telling myself mentally, especially since COVID came out, I have a strong immune system. My immune system can handle it. If I get sick, it's okay. Now I get sick like once a year, and so the way that you talk to yourself really, really matters. And um, it's not just like where the therapists think a lot of people say there's only two types of people in this world, or we try to lump them in with certain categories. There's 8 billion different types of people in this world, and that's okay. Everyone has different thoughts, different perceptions. Uh, I'm not saying there's not, because I know a lot of Christians, for example, get really upset saying there's only one way, the Bible way, right? And if you're not following this way, then you're far from God and you're doing evil deeds. Well, I don't think that just because someone doesn't have Christ in their heart or haven't uh, read certain books, they're not just going to go out and do a bunch of evil acts. I think that's the fear in your thoughts, in your head, that causes that. It doesn't mean there's not bad people out there, but there's plenty of Christians I know that have done very bad things. But sometimes that fear, or all that time, the fear is worse than what's really happening in real life. And it doesn't mean those bad things don't happen, that they didn't happen. I'm not saying that because they absolutely do. But I think sometimes we gotta learn and bring wisdom from the past into our present and write our better future, not by trying to control other people or tell them what to do or this is the way to do it, but by encouraging them to do it the right way for themselves, encouraging them to be themselves and that they are strong. I did a YouTube video a while back, but we did this experiment called the rice experiment. Me as a family with the girls, and I cooked rice, just plain rice, nothing special. And this is not a human being, mind you, it's just food, right? And we put it in two different jars, and we labeled one as the love jar and one as the hate jar. And we set them separate from each other in the same exact room with the same amount of light and the same amount of airflow, everything. But the only difference is when we came down each morning after waking up, we said three nice things to the love jar and three mean things to the hate jar. And after 2 weeks, the hate jar looked very, very moldy and brown. All the rice was brown, and there was a lot of moldy spots. And the love jar, it still looked clean almost as day one, is what was put in there. Maybe it's coincidence, I don't know, but it's definitely something that makes you think. Like what comes first, the chicken or the egg? So grinding and doing a bunch of hard work is very useful. Yes, I think hard work is absolutely necessary. And it's a healthy thing because it feels good when you accomplish things. But two, maybe believing that you're strong and capable first can actually help you take those steps when you're stuck in that fear. And I trust me, I've been there as a business owner, father of four girls. I'm trying to think, how do I keep them safe? How do I build confidence in them? How do I, you know, help my wife out? How do I help myself out? Then there's miles and miles and miles of uh, health issues that you can read about and mental health issues that you can read about. And but no one ever really writes about what physical and mental health looks like when you're feeling good. And I think that comes from being connected, mind, body, and soul, and believing in yourself that your body can heal itself, that you can get through this. And having, I truly believe that healing starts in the mind because I know earlier I was saying that, yeah, the bad things happen. We don't need to ignore that. But uh, the fear isn't as much as what we're putting in our mind, right? That's what I was saying. Something similar to that. And you guys can be probably, some of you listening, I imagine, are like, well, you haven't experienced this. You don't know what this, and this is like. This is incredibly painful. Let me tell you, I do. I do. I had no memory of my childhood growing up, and I never like to talk about this because I don't want to put my father down or put my mother down in any way. I'm so grateful for the house I got to get raised up in. I'm so grateful for um, having them in my lives. But at the same time, my father was my biggest bully, and I was around him the most. And my mom, who would do anything for anyone, didn't like to see people suffer, had a lot of anxiety, and I have a lot of that too. Um, she thought she was fixing it, but she would try to tell me that it never happened. None of this stuff was happening, or just imagine what happened to him. And um, I blocked it all out. I blocked it out. I didn't even know how to hardly function or have be social with other people or relax around other people because I went and did this little therapy thing called EMDR. So when you sleep and you dream, your eyes dart back and forth, and it helps your brain process the memories that happen. I wouldn't really dream. I wouldn't really uh, uh, remember things that happen. I still struggle with my memory. I do this app and I work on it every day and I do journaling too to try to build those memory muscles because it is a muscle that you can build back up. But my mind had blocked out all this stuff and doing that EMDR, it's going to sound crazy, but the first time I remember doing it, it felt like my body was just getting hit and I saw it mentally, right? Obviously, I don't know if this is real or not, but somehow it manifested in my mind and body as a way to block out the pain. But I saw all this black smoke starting to come off my body. And then my body just grabbed back onto it, didn't want to let it go. And the more and more I was doing the EMDR, it seemed like the more I fought it because you have these two little paddles and it's kind of supposed to replicate and you're focusing on the memory where you feel it in your body. It's supposed to help break it up. And I was doing it and it just felt like all these like 10,000 needles in my neck. I'm like, what the heck? And it's just blackness all around me while I'm doing this painful feeling slash memory. I can't see anything. I couldn't even tell you what our old house looked like growing up. And then all of a sudden, the blackness started to fade away just a little bit. I see an eagle in a tree. And I remember, oh yeah, there were eagles in our tree out and we had a lake house. Amazing way to grow up being on a lake house, getting to go boating. That was super fun. But there were very, very painful things that blocked out. And it blocked out a lot of those other good memories, unfortunately, too. So working through that so I can see it all and change the way I feel about it. But back to the story is it starts to open up. There's this eagle outside the window. I'm looking at it upside down. I'm like, why am I looking at it upside down? I'm still feeling all this pins and needles. And then the memory starts to widen a little bit. And then it's because my dad has his knee on my head and my head is twisted sideways. And he's got my arms pinned behind my back. And he's what you call monkey bumping me, hitting the crap out of me and just all over my body and then making me scream and then tickle torturing me and to the point where I can't breathe and they like cover my mouth and nose. I'm smiling because now this is just a little bit. This was like a regular day thing and and it was very, very painful. It also made me very, very strong though. By going to these therapists and trying to do this, they made me think that I had to fix the world around me, that I need to set all these hardcore boundaries. It was a ridiculous way to live. Let me tell you, what I needed to do is learn to go back to those experiences as I am now from the third person, not relive them again, because that's actually the definition of PTSD, and change the way I view it. Because if I kept listening to those therapists, I'm like, I remember even telling one, like, look, we found this dark spot inside me that's very, very painful. I feel like, and I drew it on the piece of paper, I feel like we're just adding more and adding more. And this therapist, I remember this was a different one too. He yelled at me. He's like, you think it's okay for someone to go driving with a Confederate flag and you think that a black person isn't going to feel safe or is going to feel safe around that? Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I want to learn how to let go and how to build confidence and not keep getting angry and expecting everyone to treat me fair. And I want to build my own confidence. And he couldn't even do that. He couldn't even let go of that conversation. So it made me realize I found this wonderful hypnotherapist who actually helped me realize a lot of this stuff. And Adam Cox is his name. And he's very, very smart and genuine and listens to you. Um, and figures out the problem and then works on creating a solution instead of just dwelling on that problem. Uh, and I also believe that the way you speak to yourself can really help out with that because um, I'll just tell you too, since I've talked about it, after when I was finally 16, I was strong enough to beat dad in a wrestling match, but I wouldn't hardly ever hit him because he would always be like, don't you hit me. And then he'd just go back to laughing and monkey bumping me. And according to them, if you ask them today, none of the stuff happened. I'm crazy. I'm making it up. They're just completely gaslighting. But the more I go through those memories, through those painful experiences and I acknowledge them, the more I am able to see other fun memories like wakeboarding and dirt bike riding, where before I couldn't remember any of that. I was just trying to squeeze it all off and clench it all off. There's still a lot of work to do, but it's very, very helpful to go back from the third person perspective as you are now and see yourself almost like you're watching a movie instead of the first person and reliving it. Because then you're just going to keep trying to block that stuff out if you experience something painful like that. I imagine most people in their life have. So instead of building angry or building anger and resentment and that frustration and holding on to it, I do believe you can teach yourself to let go and feel real emotions based off of certain thoughts and feelings. So Adam Cox, this hypnotherapist, he told me about this. He's like, well, think about it was when Santa Claus was coming when you were a kid, were you excited? I was like, oh yeah. And he's like, and then you found out he wasn't real. Were you less excited? I'm like, yeah. He's like, see, so you're feeling real emotions based off of something that hasn't fully happened. He's like, so you can create that for yourself. And he helped me out with this writing this story where I felt more like kind of gave me back my power in a sense and my uh what's the word? I'm missing the word here. Resourcefulness, resiliency too, being able to handle that. Said, what if, and instead of the story, which I feel like a lot of therapists tell, instead of it breaking me, it actually made me stronger. And just believing in that and hearing that, just like I feel like the rice thing almost can really be powerful because uh, when I was finally old enough to beat my old man at wrestling and I was still being very gentle to him, he didn't literally talk to me for 2 months. And then after those 2 months, um, he started talking to me, but was heavy, heavy on the mental warfare of just calling me names, telling me I'm a wuss, I'm a girl, you can't do this. Oh, Jesus, you've got half a brain cell, you're stupid. And this, I kid you not, was constant to the point where eventually I just started putting myself down around him because it hurt less. It seemed to hurt a little less. And then um, anytime I would try to be like, hey, I did this, some type of celebratory thing, he would put me right back down and say he can't let me feel too good. Until finally I had the kids, and I was going through all this, and I couldn't let that keep happening to my kids. It was easier for me to take on the pain, but I couldn't let that happen. And I finally educated myself enough. And I told him that he needed to stop. It's like, you're not going to do this anymore, or this is going to happen. And all of a sudden, it turned into me being crazy, is what he was saying, or me being, and him talking to the family all about me, and them eventually believing those things that separating them when I'm not even calling him names or doing those things to him. I'm just telling him to stop, but he doesn't want to look at himself because that's a very, very insecure person. And it's hard to talk about, but I feel like I'm finally at a point where I can, because before I couldn't even, I was just like trying to remember it. I was losing my shit all the time and couldn't figure out why I could barely function in life. But a lot of it is that. But there's a lot of other good things about him and my mom that aren't being mentioned right now. I'm just telling you guys this because I know what it's like to go through very, very difficult and very, very painful things, and everyone else assumes that you have it figured out or that that nothing bad ever happens to you or you're blessed. You can keep pushing through and you can keep building a better future for yourself, you know? And then uh I obviously don't have it figured out yet, but I'm gonna keep working on it for me and my family and my girls. And I know everyone, the whole nation, it seems like, is feeling that fear and anxiety. And it amplified, I know, when the therapist talked about toxic masculinity. So I just want to bring this up too, to realize that you guys have the power to reject those labels. Sometimes people put labels on other people to make them feel more insecure, more afraid, or try to control them. So you think about back in the olden days, people called other people witches, and that put a lot of fear in the people, and that made them hate those other when they were just normal people. They practiced herbal medicine, right? Plants and um, treating the body naturally, but other people were afraid of it, so they put a label on it. So you think about from a therapist point of view, I don't want to label all therapists as the same, but they're doing lots of reading, lots of studying the mind, and they think the mind is the only thing, the prefrontal cortex that matters, right? But there's the whole body, the whole mind, it's all working together as one system. And when these people sit there and read and they try to categorize everything and think that they have it figured out, and then of course something that they don't understand, they're going to label it as toxic, and then that puts a lot of fear in people. But if you can actually reject those labels and trust in yourself, believe in yourself, because we all have these natural physical urges. I think finally the last therapist when I had enough, I was like, I felt like a freaking, they're making me feel like a freaking psychopath for ever having a thought about sex or being a guy. And I'm just like, dude, I'm tired of hating myself for being a man, okay? I'm not out there going and doing a bunch of freaking sexual stuff, or just because someone else has done it doesn't mean that every guy is toxic, right? Just because one dog has bitten someone doesn't mean that all dogs are bad. And just because maybe that one dog bit someone doesn't mean that dog is bad. Maybe it was just protecting itself. Maybe it was scared, or maybe it had a really, really hard upbringing, right? And it needs to just be retaught. It needs a little love. So I believe that masculinity is a very, very, very powerful trait, and it's something that's there to protect and guide and teach and empower and build up our kids, right? Because instead of because if you're really secure in that, you can help make your kids feel safe. And if you're really insecure in that, then you're going to throw a lot of labels on other people, or you're going to put other people down to make yourself feel better, right? That's a really insecure person right there. And so I'm just telling you this because I don't know the best way to put it, but if you just reach your hand out to someone who's struggling instead of waiting for someone else to fix it, you'd be surprised at the change that you can see happening around you. It's not, I thought it used to be something I needed to do constantly, just every once in a while. Reaching your hand out to someone who needs a little help will make them feel a lot better. And especially doing it when you're struggling, I have a feeling it will make you feel better too. Instead of the perfection label, reading all the self growth books, trying to be this perfect person. Instead, just take the wisdom from your past and become a better person. Um, and the reason why I talk about like the inner light is I feel like everyone always says we're all connected, right? A lot of those religious stuff. I think you can go a little crazy going down that. I think you have your own inner light, uh, and it doesn't mean that you need to constantly try to worry about what everyone else is thinking. You can't do that and function in life. Trust and embrace your own creativity, your own hard work, whatever that means to you. Because I was really got heavy on this Dad Edge podcast. I remember I was, and hopefully you guys listen to him. He's pretty good, but I remember I was listening to this, doing all the stuff they're telling me to do, and finally I just broke. I was just like, dude, this is not helping. Trying to label all my kids' emotions. I did this for like 4 years, and create all this space makes them feel like I constantly need to be catering to all their needs. And finally, I'm just like, no, I can't. I got to take care of myself. And then I've got to teach my kids too that they're strong. They can do hard things. And even if daddy gets mad and doesn't know how to say the right thing, I still love them. I love them forever. I don't need to uh, create a perfect conversation or help them label their emotions, or and then when they're really really struggling, then I can step in, and it means a lot more instead of always trying to fix everything. Or yeah, I remember I was listening to these meditations, and this gal who doesn't have kids is saying, oh, I had my uh niece over and she was trying to do the dishes and she almost spilt it. I went to go correct her and I stopped myself, and I realized sometimes I just need to let them figure it out on their own. Or the other books I was reading where they're saying, "Oh, try not to let it get to you. There's spill spaghetti on the floor. They're just making a painting masterpiece." Or they spill a drink, don't get upset. I was doing that. There's fucking drinks everywhere spilled. There was a mess, and the sitting there trying to let the kids get them their food ready, and I couldn't even hardly get any work done because it takes so much fucking time. at some point you just got to do the work, I feel like, and take care of yourself and your needs. And then, yeah, teach them. They're going to learn along the way, but you don't need to push this stuff to be perfect. You can just be better, you know? And I feel like, again, I'm kind of rambling here because of there's no real script or set few topics I have, just kind of speaking what comes to my mind. But um, I know it's a lot with everything going on. And sometimes people just know that sometimes people use, unfortunately, especially on all those social media platforms and a lot of the podcasts, you're trying to look to better yourself in those books. But ask yourself, what are they selling? Sometimes they use fear and they identify your pain points. I've read books like this too, where they try to identify your pain points. And for me, the purpose is to identify those pain points and help alleviate those pain points and make it easier for your customer. Not everyone does that, unfortunately. They identify the pain points and then they highlight them, and you end up feeling shame, guilt, or fear. And they realize that that drives sales, that drives you to their business. So I hope you don't fall for that. I hope that you have enough internal guidance and awareness to trust in yourself and you know, do what's good for you and what's good for others too, because we need more of that in this world, I feel like. And obviously don't take complete advice from me, but follow your own instincts and intuition. Um, because I'm speaking from just uh a little uh let's see, 39 years of living life. And there's obviously other people who lived older than me, and their answers are right too. Some of the things they say, I imagine, are wrong, but I also don't think that you need to be afraid of God. Hey there, guys. It's advertising time. And right now, I just want to hop in here and let you guys know that I don't even do paid advertising. A lot of these episodes are just free, and I'm putting out a lot of knowledge from my experience in lighting design. And every once in a while, I'll throw a little ad out there for TK Lighting Design, or doing maybe another promotional program when we're doing a sale. But we keep it pretty clean and try to just put out a lot of information so you guys can learn and get the most out of this show. And if you like what we're doing here, I would love it if you guys could go over and support us at patreon.com. It's just $5 a month. And or you can choose how much you want to donate, because I do want to keep this going. I just started this year. I plan on doing 12 episodes a year, so just one a month. And I've had some pretty great people on. One was that comes to mind was Robert Soler, who was a ex NASA specialist, and he specialized in lighting, and it was really fun talking to him. And then some other great people that I've known. And this show is mostly about electric light, yes, but it's Earth Centric Lighting. So a lot of people I know are into that inner light type thing too. So any wisdom and knowledge that you have to share is what we want to, where we want to grow this. And specifically, I believe with lighting, because we've evolved to the rising and setting of the sun. And it's only the last 150 years that that electric light bulb was invented. So you can really learn how to leverage light to create better health and wellness for your overall uh, interior space and your exterior as well. So if you love what we're doing, again, I'll have a link in the show notes. But if you could support us on Patreon, that would be great. That'd be a big way to help grow this brand and this show. So thank you for listening. And I choked at the end. Thank you for listening. Have a great thanks for listening. Back to the show. A lot of people do that. Well, yeah, the one therapist told me, he was like, "Oh yeah," he's yelling at me. He's like, "Yeah, you see, God sent down lotuses for the father sleeping with his kids." I'm like, finally, I was like, dude, I'm not coming here to keep creating mental stress. I have four beautiful daughters. I'm trying to figure out how to protect them. And you seem to just hate men. I'm gonna quit listening to you. I'm gonna trust that I have enough strength and wisdom. Uh, and if not, I'm going to learn it to figure out how to be the father that they need. And sometimes that's not always the father that they want. I want to have fun with them and play with them all the time, but I can't. Sometimes I gotta discipline them, and it sucks. Um, and just sitting there dwelling on all that other stuff. And I don't think it's true. God didn't send no lotuses when dad was beating me up as a kid. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful for anyone, but I do see that fear of God hurt a lot of people. And even a friend of mine, because their family and her parents were always putting God first over her family. And that obviously wasn't their intention, but that's the way she interpreted it. And life got cut short because of that. Or you just feel all this shame because you feel like you're never good enough for natural. And there's a lot of concepts about sin, and it's not just Christianity. I'm talking about other religions too. It gives you like the idea of sainthood. You guys should watch the movie Soul if you ever seen that. There's this gal, I think she's a soul getting ready to come to Earth, and an older guy, a piano player dies, and he gets in there in this area as a mentor, and this little girl, I think 23 is what her name or number was. Uh, she's had lots of mentors, and she's never gotten all her badges. She needs to go to Earth, and all the mentors are saints like Abraham Lincoln, all these people who've done great, amazing things. And you see her at the end, finally, she was just like this black swirling storm around her, and she's hearing all their voices like she'll never be enough. She'll never be enough. Sometimes you just need, instead of trying to do all this, you need to do this, and this perfect thing. This Just reach your hand out to someone and say, you know what? You are enough. You can do this. You are. You don't need to be perfect or a saint. Listen to your own heart. And that's hard to say because we're not taught that. And but I think it is important. There's a lot of benefits to learning all this other stuff, and but that's not where you get all the answers. Sometimes it's okay to look within. Eventually, though, in that movie, she does get past it and she gets her Earth pass, but it's a good one. Um, I feel like there's more I wanted to talk about, but for some odd reason, I'm just not thinking about it. Um, yeah, don't get mad and like send freaking hate notes to my parents or anything like that. Parenting is hard. I feel like I'm losing my mind every day with my kids, and I've read all these books and I've written them letters and apologies, and I still get angry, man. It's hard. Um, the stuff that happened already happened. I can't change the past. I don't want to sit there and dwell on it or someone else's anger to feed anything. I want to change the way I perceive the past and build a better future for me and my family and learn from it instead of trying to be this perfect person. Because then, otherwise, holding on to that resentment, it really affects me. It doesn't, it's not doing shit to him, it's not doing shit to anyone else. It's hurting me. So instead, if I can learn to trust, I feel like that's a very, very powerful tool. So, yeah, if you guys like episodes like this, please let me know. Send me a message if you want to hop on the podcast. Uh, I'd love to do an interview with someone who wants to talk about topics like this: neurobiology, ophthalmology, science, architecture, interior design, anything like that, because this is the Earth Centric Lighting podcast. So a lot of it is built around our lighting design company, TK Lighting Design, and how much light has an impact on our lives. But there's also this other side of the philosophical light of maybe right or wrong. And sometimes I think you can get stuck there, as we've talked about, instead of trusting your instincts and doing the work. Um, I think that's very, very important too. So, but yeah, I hope you guys found this useful and maybe inspiring, but just be kind to yourself, speak kindly to yourself, and believe in yourself and push past your limits because you can do it. All right, guys, have a good one. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you on the next podcast.